So tomorrow onwards, I believe we have to meet from 5:30 till 8:30. So we'll see. We'll figure out a way to try and do it earlier because I know it's pretty late for everybody and some people have long distances to travel home. So how are you all today?
All good.
Did you get the email I sent this morning?
Yes.
And, no problems, nobody's. Is there anybody who didn't get it? Because maybe we had wrong address or something. Okay, great. So you know what we are going to do today, right? You know where to start? Okay, so we'll do the discussion that we left off yesterday. We were talking about e-waste. Everybody remember we had a pretty good discussion. So we were talking about solutions like reuse, refurbishing, and recycling. And some of the discussion points we had were these. So I was hoping that you all had a chance, a few minutes to maybe think about it. If you had a chance? I guess not. That's okay, just be frank. I know you had another class before this, right? And some of you are also teaching, so it's been a full day. Okay, so let's do the, let's spend some class time. So we'll do what, 10 minutes? Would that be enough? So, why do I see more people or is it just my imagination? That's good if there are more people. So let's form 6 groups. I'll let you form. If you want to change the groups a little bit, because that's a great way I find to get to know other people in the class also, because a lot of times we are, talking to the same group of people. So why don't we do a mix and match today? So maybe people from this lane can come to this lane and, you guys can figure it out, or should I do it? Okay, so let's do 5 or 6 per group, so we have about 6 groups. But let's do some getting up and moving around. Otherwise, I'll have to do it for you. आप ऐसे करिए पीछे से जो है कम से कम आगे पीछे तो हो जाएगी थोड़ा सा आगे हो जाएगा दो लोग जो आगे हैं वो पीछे चले जाइए जो दो पीछे के वो आगे ऐसे ही आप नहीं कर लीजिए आप 5 का हो जाएगा और आप यहाँ से दो चले जाएंगे let's do about 10 minutes, so around 5:35. Does everybody know what I'm asking you to do? We're doing the same thing we've been doing in discussion. Just think about concrete points about each of these, and then you can have a spokesperson from your group. And when the spokesperson is talking, I'll try to jot down the points because yesterday I couldn't remember everything everybody said. Or maybe type it on a Word document or something. All right. So, first two are related, so let's do each group the first two and then I'll jot down some points and then we'll go on to the next 3. So should we start from there then?
Actually, we are 4 as a group and there's another group.
Okay, so we'll start from there and go this way.
Sure.
किसी को अगर माइक्रोफोन चाहिए तो बताइए.
Your name is sorry. No, myself.
So we're talking about incentives. What are the incentives for companies and individuals to do any of those recycle, reuse, or refurbish?
If we talk about the recycling or refurbishing of any product, as like many companies, what they do is they convey a message through advertisement or any mode of promotions. They say you give your old product and you give some money with that product, and we'll give you a latest product. Like you give the.
Can you just make sure that when we have somebody talking, let's not talk. It's very hard to hear otherwise what the person is saying. Thank you.
If we talk about Apple iPhone, you go to the iSpace. They say you give your iPhone 5s and you give a little more money to it, and we'll give you the upgraded version, like say Apple iPhone 6s. So this is what they're doing. And if we talk about the e-waste, what we do is, being an individual or being an society person, what we do is, if we are fed up with the mobile or the gadget which we are using in our daily lives, we throw them off, or we keep it in our shelves at home, and that device or that mobile is kept for years. But through this, what companies does it, they manage these e-waste. They provide us the platform that you give your all e-waste to us, and we will support this system of managing this e-waste.
So what's the incentive? Is it the financial? Is it the revenue generation? Or how do you categorize it?
It is both financial and psychological. Because we are getting the much more upgraded version of that device which we were using it earlier, right? Yeah. If I want to change my mobile and I don't have enough money to buy a new mobile, so what they say is, you give your old mobile and we'll give you the latest version with a limited amount of bucks. And with the second question, do computer companies encourages refurbishing or upgrading? I say yes, they do it. Like HP or Nokia. Nokia one did that. You give your e-waste and you dump your mobile phone, and we'll plant a single tree. There was a movement sort of thing that you give your damaged phone or any sort of e-waste, and we'll plant one tree.
That's not refurbishing necessarily.
Yes, ma'am?
That's not refurbishing. That's more of carbon trade-off.
Yeah, carbon trade-off.
So if you are, let's say, HP, would you encourage refurbishing?
Yeah, ma'am, they do encourage, because they take your laptops, they replenish it by either they upgrade or they generally replenish it by taking the older devices.
Any other comments from that group or any questions for that?
I think operating system companies like Intel processor, these are the companies which are working to upgrade the system. But the companies which are manufacturing the equipment, they are not asking for replacement or upgrading. They just want throw the first one and purchase the new one.
That's the business model usually is based on new sales rather than any. You can upgrade the software, but you can't
Yeah.
upgrade the...
Exactly, only the software company, but the equipment companies they are not in a mood that you should upgrade the equipment. You should purchase. Yeah, looking only for this.
So right now, at least so far, we are not seeing any incentive for the companies to encourage refurbishing of their own products. I mean, usually what's happening is third parties, I sell it to somebody who will repair it and then they will set it off. It's an interesting thing, I don't know if you know it, I don't. If you need permission, so let's say if I have a shop where I can take old iPhones, repair it and sell it again. Do I need Apple's permission to do that, or can I just sell it off?
But for like Apple iPhones and like even in automobile industry, recently in India they started, they give some concession, they give some money for the old product that the consumer gets. It's deducted from the price of the new.
No, I mean that part is fine. But let's say Apple company is selling its products, but some entrepreneur, some small business owner decides, okay, I am going to open a business where I'll take the used Apple devices, refurbish them and make them like new and then resell it, right, to consumers. My question is, can that person do it without Apple's permission? Because if Apple comes to know that this person is doing that, they're not going to be happy, right, necessarily. So I think, because most of the time when you go to look for new, let's say cell phones or smartphones, you do get, that this is refurbished or this is new. So usually those sellers probably have the permission from the companies whose product they carry, that yes, they are allowed to carry certain percentages of products as refurbished and sell it at certain price range or something, because otherwise it's a big disincentive for the companies, because when you have this whole market flooded with refurbished and reused products, and nobody's going to buy, or very few people are going to buy, it will cut into their new sales essentially. So any other comment or question for this group? Thank you. So we'll go this way.
Am I supposed to speak? So can I start from the first question?
Sure, yeah, we're doing the first two right now.
Before I speak anything, you were raising a question like, what about Apple if they come to know that their product is being refurbished or given, if it is under warranty? I don't know much about that, but I may tell you the level of sensitivity of Apple as far as the product is concerned. One of my colleagues, he was downloading some this app from iTunes Store, and just to check what happens if you say I disagree to the terms and condition. So he did I disagree, and he gets a message back that please give your phone back to the this certified Apple store, and the company will refund you according to the company's policy. Even for one app he was downloading and he said disagree. So they said please give back the phone. So they may be sensitive. I don't know. I'm like, what is that level?
Sensitive is a nice way of putting that. It's basically their dictatorship.
Yes.
You have to agree to our terms, otherwise you don't refuse.
Yes. Anyways, coming back to this first question, what about adequate incentives? I was just going through some literature. As you may be aware, there is a wireless carrier known as Sprint in US. So what they are doing actually, they have this huge buyback program in which they ask the customers to give their phone regardless of the condition of the device or the carrier they are already using. Actually in our country we do like we get mobile from a different place and we can get any SIM card of any carrier.
Right. There's
But-
much more flexibility, openness in India.
Yes, but back there it's not like that. But anyways, they get the phone, and the main focus is to find a useful second life for those devices. Actually, they have some criteria based on which they get it, but as far as the article is concerned, they get most of it. Now the point is, what they do is they give $300 this remuneration or incentive to the customer from whom they are buying it, and then what they do, they sort them according to their working condition, and then they clean them up and they upgrade the software, and then they again redistribute it to the customers maybe outside of US or within the US also, because outside US there are a huge market. People want to get hold of good mobile phones in cheap prices. Now, what is the advantage for the company as such? Because many of these devices are still in warranty and they have the insurance intact with them. So they save billions of dollars in those that warranty part and that insurance part. And from the customers from whom they have bought, to them also it is increased satisfaction, because they are paying $300 to them. And to the company's end, they are refurbishing, they are upgrading it, and they are selling to the people who need it. They are also happy. They are saving a lot of cost. They don't have to buy additional, but if from some vendor or some manufacturer they are buying, that cost is also reduced. And eventually, yesterday we were talking about in the manufacturing process, lot of emissions and these things and those things. So somehow that is also saved. And remaining mobile phones which don't qualify for all those processes, so if they are not able to refurbish that, so that figure is approximately 10%. So up to 90% of the phones that they buy back, it is refurbished and reutilized. But the 10% remaining, they give to certified recyclers. And these recyclers, what they do, they dismantle the phone and take out the materials, whatever are there, especially plastic and all. And these things are again reused for making furniture or jewelry item, toys or something like that. So that is how they actually deal with. So their main emphasis, e-waste management is there. But as far as the management is concerned, they do both things, refurbishing and recycling.
So why do you think only or one company is doing it, why not the others?
Actually, others are also doing, but they are ahead of the business.
And I think part of the thing may be that when you are doing something like this, it requires some sort of infrastructure that you have to put in place.
Absolutely.
For collection, and you have to have people who can sort them, people who can refurbish them, and so on, which is actually quite a hefty labor costs involved. So
Absolutely.
not all companies can invest that kind of money in setting up infrastructure also. So that's part of the reason.
And as far as that article is concerned, according to them, they are the only certified partners of EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and rest whatever thing is.
So looks like financial, psychological is mainly, and maybe I'll just put altruistic, because it gives the company some sort of this altruistic aura that they're doing good for the society and all that stuff.
The feel-good factor is
Sort of related to psychology also.
right.
Any comment or question for this group?
I think I have one more question.
Sure, yeah.
So actually, I don't know much. One of the classmates has told that HP is doing. I don't know about HP or maybe Apple, but there's one particular site that I had come across some years back, known as Green Dust. So what they are doing, actually, they are promoting refurbished products only, be it mobile phones, be it laptops, be it tablets. So what they do, they get these phones from the market or from the customers. How they do it, I don't know. But the Green Dust is one particular portal, and they give you good products. It's not like you may be thinking they're very old phones or something like that. But good brands, latest products, refurbished. Some people have just discarded them for some purpose or something like that, some technical issues or anything. But this is one site I know about that they do encourage refurbishing or upgrading something.
As far as the incentives are concerned, we came up with one of the things was competitive advantage. The company promotes itself as someone which reduces e-waste, which is not. So it will be a competitive advantage for the company, especially in marketing tactics. Right? Maybe they will promote itself as a green company, or just show it as a CSR. It will build up its brand. And in the future, if they go on that business model, it will be distinctly advantage. Right? And then one aspect that we thought of was modular construction of equipment, because it will be easier for consumers to upgrade their technology But again, like was mentioned previously, that the manufacturers don't see any incentive in making it easier for upgradation. But that can be a product that can be promoted. Like Google's ARA project is going on. It has an exoskeleton and you can place all the equipments like camera, screen, whichever way you want. Right? So it becomes easier for the consumer if, let's say, your phone has outdated or some of the hardware is outdated or you want to upgrade your phone, you can just buy the camera module and add it to the phone. That becomes easier and will reduce the use. Then, but it will take a hit on the other products like a full-fledged phone. So there the company needs to bifurcate these two products and try to promote these modular constructed. And then we thought of e-credits, something similar to carbon credits, carbon trading. So the company will be incentivized to reduce its e-waste so that it can use it afterwards or trade it to some other company or country. And linked to it, we can have that dedicated percentage that every year this company needs to reduce its e-waste by this percentage. There could be a treaty in the international treaty by consenting countries. So it needs to be a wholehearted and holistic approach to e-waste.
Any comments or questions for this group?
Okay. Good evening, friends. Again, we are everybody. Is my colleague Dr. Sanjay. He already discussed about the barriers, the incentives. The first thing is the CSR. The government of India already proposed the rule that you have to invest some amount of your earning, of your profit in CSR activity. So we can shift that the money which is invested by an organization in EWaste management, we can shift that amount into the CSR activity of that organization. It will be an incentive for that organization. Then second, if we are talking about at organization level, then government will give them some tax relaxation in their excise duties when they are exporting their material to the outside organizations or outside countries. If they are doing adequate, if they are doing good e-waste management, then government should encourage them by giving them some relaxation in their tax every year, 5%, 2%, if they are doing well in this. It will be the incentive for them at organization level. Now, if we are talking about individual level, everybody here is talking about the recycling of the good position cell phone or electronic gadgets, which are in under warranty or near to expiry of their warranty. But I would like to talk about that if the cell phone is totally degraded, then what we will do about that thing? As my colleague, he already suggested that we have to dissect that cell phone and use the plastic and the metal in manufacturing of toys and manufacturing of all these things. It is a huge money increasing, cost increasing process. You have to set up a new segment to recycle that product, or not recycle, to dissect that product and sell its component into the different organization. It is a cost increasing process. We are going to increase the cost. Here we are talking about the cost reduction, but in the other hand we are increasing our cost, so it will be the negative factor. But at individual level we can give discount, as my friend he already suggests that we can give discount to the customers, that if you are recycling, if you are giving your cell phone, your electronic gadgets to recycling organization, we will give you 5% discount on the next purchase, 10% discount on the next purchase. Then if we are talking about the barriers, as per our discussion with my group members, we find out approximately 4 factors. First is psychological factor. I'm using this cell phone since 1.5 years. और अगले 3 साल तक मैं इसको और यूज़ करूँगा, because my psychology, why should I purchase new one when it is useful? I'm doing my each and every work from this cell phone. Why should I purchase? Even I know that this is harmful. Even I know that. But my psychology, why should I invest my money to purchase new one? First thing, psychological factor. Then second is monetary factor. I want to purchase. Yes, I care my environment and I have some consideration with my environment. I want to protect, but I have money to purchase new thing. Then third one is expected quality. Yes, I want to purchase, but I'm not getting my desired product in Allahabad. How can I purchase? The supply of that product is not here. Then fourth one, we find in our discussion that educational status. As per the 2000 annual census, the 67% of our population is living in rural India. Among 37% people are below 5th standard of their educational status. Below 5th standard person only know two things, that the green button is for receiving this call and the red button is for getting this cell phone. How can we teach them that this cell phone is harmful for you and for our environment also? So we have to organize some awareness program. Companies which are government of India should start these kind of rules and the regulation that any company which is going to start the manufacturing of electronic gadgets in India, they are solely responsible for EWaste management of those products. They are solely responsible. They have to do this. This is their duty. And second, they have to program. They have to do some awareness program in the rural area because the most of population is living there. Thank you.
Any queries?
Any question? Thank you.
One thing I would like to add, you said Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in India, many small towns, if you'll put the code of Java, if the product is above 10,000, you'll not get a delivery. And you won't find local vendor out here in these areas.
Even in Allahabad?
Yes, yes. You put a code by 211016 or 211003, you'll not get the, you know, if you want to buy a laptop or a cell phone or anything like that.
Even 211002 also.
Exactly. Exactly. You won't find.
All UP, yeah, that's the thing.
I have been working with Amazon UK, so I know this thing. I was an ex-employee of IBM Global Lux, so I can tell this thing clearly.
So why is it?
Because of many reasons. Because mostly people, they don't prefer internet banking; they believe on cash on delivery.
Cash on delivery is more harmful.
Once they get it. And people are, they have a policy, like in US and India also, if the product is, like when you receive it, it's being damaged. So we have to return that thing. And generally in transit, products gets damaged. And some like minded people, they use it and they return it after 30 days money back guarantee. Oh, it was being damaged. I didn't found a charger. I didn't found an earphone. Good minded people in India. So yeah, so now they have decided the whole, all these e-portals, all the e-commerce sites, they have decided if it is above 10,000, we're not going to sell anything. That's why I said. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. Alright, so we'll come back to this group and then.
Basically, the major incentives are already covered. I would like to talk about whether the companies encourage refurbishing or not. I would like to put an example from my life. I actually bought an iPad 5 years back and it went out of warranty. Last year's screen wasn't working properly. So I contacted Apple whether it could be repaired or not, and it was actually very costly, like 10,000 or 15,000 to just repair the screen. So they just gave me like an idea that if you can actually replace the iPad, you can give us the old iPad and you can pay us 20,000 and get a completely new iPad with upgraded version for 20,000. So basically, instead of buying a 50 or 60,000 iPad, I would actually go for that. And I'm thinking of doing that, so that is a very good, as a customer for me, if I'm getting a new iPad for 20,000 and I'm actually replacing my old iPad also. So that was a very good step by Apple. And then basically the motivators, government policies need to be very strict. Like companies, they should be properly implemented, and they should be checked regularly whether the companies are following that or not. And barriers, basically barriers, I would like to talk about the barriers like lack of proper channel for disposing the e-waste. People and companies don't know how to dispose e-waste. Like they should be properly aware. Disposal of e-waste is a very costly process because, for example, I would quote again an example of Apple. Apple has a product like product red Apple. They actually contribute a portion from that products to patients of AIDS, to get, provide relief to the patient of AIDS. So companies should also launch products like something green related to that, so that we could actually contribute to the environment also, which actually doesn't harm environment much. Then rating scale from the companies is a very important motivating factor for them, because giving certificate to the companies will actually encourage the companies and increase the awareness among the customers as well, and they will actually be encouraged to buy products from those companies which have a better rating scale. Then hardware support. Product should be developed in such a way that hardware is actually, it could be upgraded to the upcoming technology. We don't have to again buy new phones. Like if I have a phone right now, then it should be upgradable. Like after 4 years also, I have the latest technology available in that. I don't have to get a new hardware again and again. That would actually reduce the e-waste. Then proper maintenance of the products. Like if I have, like you quoted it yesterday, like we should put the computer, shut down the computer, not put always it on the sleep mode, because it actually reduces the battery life also. So we should conserve and try to save our products and actually make it long lasting, so that products last longer, and that also will reduce the waste.
Any questions or comments for this group? Thank you.
Most of the points have been covered by all the guys.
So do you have any example or something?
There are two kinds of e-waste. One is which are totally spoiled and which cannot be refurbished. One type of products that they can be recycled and one could be refurbished. We have some idea about the refurbished products, like we sell old goods, and others, those who need, they can use. So same way, refurbished products of electronics goods could be sent to, like India is a developing country, the goods from India could be sent to underdeveloped countries, like so government could give some tax incentives, export-import policy could be relaxed, so that most of the old computers and mobile phones could be sent to underdeveloped countries. So then India will have less burden of e-waste in our country. We have most of the points have been covered by us, what we discussed.
Thank you. I understand that, so the last group, don't feel bad if you have pretty much the same thing, but we still want to hear from you. Most of the points I thought of it that it hasn't covered was just a single point in barriers that barriers which come for reduction in e-waste is the lack of infrastructure in present scenario. That is, in India we don't have necessary research facilities, necessary departments to find out how we could recycle the e-waste. This would be this is the basic problem that we face in current scenario. So I guess this is a barrier in reduction of see that from that angle.
One more point, government can make a regulation that the products that the companies are manufacturing should be easily recyclable. Should not take, should not be hazardous, and then the production manufacturing itself should be, designing itself should be in this way that they are easily dismantled and they can be made into separate, used into separate things, or can be completely destroyed.
That's a good point. In manufacturing, like I said yesterday, there's a lot of research going on how to manufacture so it's easily dismantled and easily you can extract. I don't think it's, at least at this point, in foreseeable future, they can replace all those toxic elements because they are being used because they serve a very specific purpose in the circuit boards and so on. So until some material scientist comes up with a material that is serving the same purpose and no toxicity, I think we're stuck with those.
Even if they're using that harmful materials, but it should be easily separatable. So So they can revise such a way. We are not able to comment.
And any comments or questions for that group? Thank you so much. So looks like we have some concrete points or specific points in terms of the incentives, and these pretty much apply to the first question as well as the motivators for the last one. That what's the motivators for companies to adopt these? Yes.
I just want to put some light on the last point. Actually, there are two sets of barriers as far as recycling or refurbishing is concerned. First set of barriers is that actually there are lack of good quality products which are available for refurbishing, and the second one is that there is a lack of regulation which actually enforces your reuse of products. This is one set of barrier, and the other set of barrier is that improper illegal e-waste management and improper e-waste management. So illegal way, if they are doing an illegal way, they don't have to maybe pay taxes to the government or things that they are supposed to do. So illegally they just shell it off to some countries which they should not do. Actually, if some of it can be refurbished, then it can be utilized for that purpose. As far as the motivation is concerned, so some of the experts have said that the dismantling of these products should be, electrical and electronic products should be done in gold mines, because they have got huge quantity of gold and other precious metals. So this is one of the single most profitable stream of business that can be utilized for earning revenue and all, for getting revenue. So that's what.
Thank you. So as you all and so sorry.
Sanjay.
I apologize in advance to everybody. I'm really bad with names. Even when I teach there, it takes me 3 or 4 weeks before I know the names of 25 students. And this is much more than that. So my apologies in advance. I think we have gotten a pretty good sense now of what these different solutions are and what might or might not spur the companies in a country and consumers in a country to adopt it. By and large, pretty much everything revolves around financial motives. Unless you have some robust financial motive for a company to be engaged in it, combined with government regulations. So even if the financial motives are not very strong, but if the government has mandated that you have to do it and there is oversight, companies will do it. But if it is a weak financial incentive, then they would prefer to invest their money in something else, in developing new products, and not necessarily going green. So that's definitely something. So if you are a government and you're trying to incentivize your companies to manufacture and sell and manage the disposal in a green manner, you have to figure out what are the incentives. And usually tax incentives, subsidies, combined with the infrastructure. You can't be a government and tell everybody that, okay, we're going to go green and we expect all of you to go green, but not provide solid infrastructure where it can be done in a safe manner. So there's ways to collect it, and then, the last step should not be that it's all being dumped in Ganga. So suddenly somebody's eating fish and there's a cell phone ringing. So just like anything else in any information system, or in fact any initiative in the world, financial motives, government regulations have to be combined together for making people change their behaviors. Companies are people too, right? And for us consumers, for most of us also the financial motive is the most important one. We have limited amount of disposable money. So we want to buy the best product that appeals to us psychologically and so on. So I'm not going to go green unless there is some sort of incentive that makes it easy for me to be so. So again, we go back to this. Some of these things were, of course, this is also tied in somewhat to this one, but competitive advantage is a huge advantage for companies in a cutthroat competition like electronic devices. There's so much competition, so that certainly helps. So if you can, as a government, if you can figure out a way for companies to fight each other and gain competitive advantage, and this modular construction, that's an important point also, because besides all this thing in the design and manufacturing, which is what the green IT definition said, if you can figure out a way to make it easy for it to be dismantled or reused or refurbished, then more likely, because you bring down the cost ultimately if your front-end design is a good one to begin with. Any other thought on this? Because I think we've pretty much covered most of these, so we can move on. Let's do this. We already talked about this yesterday, if I remember, so I'm not going to do this again. We had these points, but I think what we can do is, because the most important one here was the second one that I wanted us to spend some time on. It doesn't matter who's the most, because those lists keep changing every year, plus, depending on who is creating that list, 5 different companies, ranking bodies will have different companies. So what is important for us is to consider what are the matrix that is used, and what are the indicators for these companies. So I think we can do that probably tomorrow or even the next week when we go more into strategic discussions and come back to it. So I'm going to skip this particular discussion for today. So what I'll do is, let me cover a couple of slides and then we'll stop for the tea break. So this one is a slide which is simply talking about that the best way to do regulations is when governments work in conjunction with the companies and create regulations and policies. So these 3 initiatives, the CSCI, the Green Electronic Council, the Green Grid, these are different non-profit organizations that work with the government to promote green ideas. You can go to those sites and check them out. For example, one of them, the ClientServer Computing Energy Reduction, their focus is on how do you increase the efficiency of new PC designs and servers. And these are the different stats. Again, we are sort of familiar with these stats already. So that's what their focus is. So I included this in here just to give us a sense of that there are these non-profit agencies that are working towards these kind of initiatives. One of the things they talk about is that in a typical organization, the PCs and the monitors are the biggest power hogs, not even the servers, which includes cooling. However, this is an old statistics, and I was trying to find this morning, I couldn't find, plus the speeds in the guest house with the internet are, half the time it doesn't work or it's so slow, so I couldn't really do a whole lot of internet research to find more recent stats. But I think my sense is that the servers have probably overtaken that because PCs have become much more power efficient now. In 2007, we still used to have those old style desktops and so on, but now pretty much, the monitor is combined with the, you just get this one unit and everything is in it, so those are much more power efficient. So the yellow portion is probably now the bigger one than the green one, and servers are the biggest power hogs in a typical organization. So there are lots of ways of using technology to make information technology systems more green, more power efficient. So we had, carbon-free computing, solar computing, lead-free, and restriction of hazardous substances type of energy efficient computing. I'm not going to go into detail on these. These are just, you know what solar computing is, and a lot of these initiatives are still R&D. What I want us to focus on is What's the role of IT vendor? So there's something called green web surfing. Have you heard of this thing? It's basically what it is it's kind of tied to the marketing type of thing and CSR type of things. So the company says that, Google for example says that if you click on something called blackle.com, you use them, they will plant a tree for so many plants kind of thing. And Yahoo also has similar initiative, Firefox browser also has similar initiatives. So there's something called greensend.com, sounds like a tea, a chai cup of tea. That's what I thought of after saw it. So they basically issue, it's sort of like a certification body almost. So they have created themselves as a certification body. So if searches are greener, then meaning that the interest rate time used by those companies is green enough, whatever, based on whatever standards, they issue them renewable energy certificate and they are green. ECOPCO is another company that every time 1,000 searches are reached, they plant some trees to sort of offset the carbon emissions. So, so can somebody explain to me what's the relationship between a search and a tree? Like, just, I know you know it, so let's just verbalize it. Okay, so when you do a search, when I click on a computer here, lots of things happening, right? I have this thing that's using some power consumption. There is a network which is being utilized. There is the server at the other end which is also consuming some power. So when you aggregate that for each click, you can sort of get a good estimate of how much power is consumed and how much of these materials, hazardous materials and so on and so forth. So what's the equivalent of carbon emission? So then you sort of say, okay, for so many searches, we'll need to plant so many trees to offset that much of carbon emissions. So that's essentially the idea. So it's sort of, it's just a way of saying that, you know, to encourage people to use those sites, and therefore through that site they still are able to do their Google searches and so on, except that's generating advertisement as well as some ad revenue which then goes into funding this planting of the trees. So that's called green web surfing. EcoSearch.org is also another company that gets its profits from Google search and ads it runs for them, and all the profits they make goes towards environmental clean causes. So this becomes a way for these companies to sort of go higher in the consciousness of the consumer. Because if I'm a consumer, I just want my Google search to take place, right? Whether I go through ecosearch.org or just go directly through some other, it doesn't really matter to me. So if I know about green surfing, then probably it's better for me. I feel good, okay, you know, every time I'm doing a Google search, it generates so many plants or some environment related NGO is getting some money, etc. So that's the concept of green web surfing, that you encourage people to use certain sites who then are dedicated to donating either a portion or all of their profits to green causes. Any questions? Do we know of any similar sites which is EWaste? I'm sure there might be. Maybe some of us can start using these sites, or at least go and check them out and see what they are. So you'll be getting these PowerPoints either tonight or tomorrow morning. So I'll stop here for our tea break. We'll come back and we'll spend the rest of the time talking about virtualization mostly. And so how much time do we take for tea breaks usually? 10 minutes. Okay. So applications you can use from that particular client. Thin clients, very limited applications, maybe one like in a bank or a few in some other, but fat clients are something like this. So they are standalone computers, but they are also connected to a network. That's why they are called a client. So a server is, so a web server, for example. So when I'm here and if I open the browser application and I want to go to a site, that request is being sent to something called a web server. Typically it goes to the server that's installed in an organization like MNNIT probably has its own server. I'm assuming most organizations, especially universities, do. So that server is getting my request as well as all of you people who are on your smartphones or on your laptop, and everybody in this university, whosoever happens to be using the browser at that point of time is getting those multiple requests. So those could be in thousands. So the server has to have the capability to figure out whose request was the first one and is it a valid request. It's kind of like when you go to a doctor's office, you have this waiting room. So somebody has to manage the waiting room. So a nurse comes in and takes your temperature and sort of prepares you to meet the doctor. So it's the same kind of thing. So the server has to authenticate that it's a valid request that is coming from a terminal which it recognizes. So it's not like somebody outside the university is trying to access, etc. It knows what was the sequence of the different requests received and which web pages you're trying to go to, and the web pages you're trying to access, are those valid addresses that are allowed you to access or not. Like this morning I was trying to access my library in California and it won't let me go because the server here is apparently so strict that it won't even recognize the other .edu. I don't know why, but sorry. I'm not used to it. I'm so used to just being able to go and type and then take me there. So anyway, so that's what the server's job is to manage the request, and then once it says it's a valid request and it processes it, so it has to have enough of a processing power. Now obviously it can't be doing, even though it's doing it serially, it's so powerful that it can do multitasking at the same time. Otherwise, if I click here, I'll be sitting for a few seconds waiting for my request to take place. If the server is not powerful enough. So after it processes my request, it then sort of opens the port, so to say, the gate for the request to go out and go to the, California server, and there it gets processed and it sends the answer back. Then the server decides again, is this a valid address from which the information is being received, and if so, then it allows it to come back to the server. So that's essentially what a server and a client. So it's called a client-server architecture. It is one of the most popular ones. There are other types of architecture, but these days, pretty much most organizations and networks use the client-server. You can have multiple layers of client-server. So the server and the client are directly connected through some sort of network connection, whether it's the wired one or wireless one. But sometimes you have what is called a 3-tiered or N-tier client server. That usually happens when you have a lot of complex applications going on. So rather than overload this one server with these multiple different types of requests, what you do is you put in some layers and therefore then divide the different applications. So you could have a mail server just to process emails, web server. You could have other for anything maybe as a smartphone related, among this type of things. So everybody sort of understand in general what's the idea behind a client server? Okay, so with that architecture, so obviously what happens is you have to have tons of clients, right? All of us have a client. Your smartphone is a client, this is a client. If you're in a lab, all those computers are clients. So you have this humongous number of clients. All of these clients are connected through some network which use routers and all kinds of equipment also. And then usually, depending on the size of the clients you're serving, you may need more than one server, right? You can't have just one machine handling all these requests, otherwise it will be very, very slow. So typically, most servers is not one machine, they are multiple multiple machines in parallel. And I wish I remember to get a picture I could show you. So it's basically like you have these stacks of the server machines don't look like necessarily like a computer, although a computer can be configured to serve as a server. But typically the servers are much more powerful machines. They don't have any extra stuff like monitors and keyboards typically attached. They usually are put in racks, so it's easy to manage them, cool them. Because if you have multiple servers running constantly, 24/7, you need a mechanism to make sure there's no overheating taking place, especially in India where it does get really hot, so you have to make sure. So that's where the cooling cost we're talking about. So that's the servers we're talking about. So a traditional server, basically what you have is, you have your CPU, right? You have your CPU, you have some sort of memory like RAM, big, small, but you have clips around. NIC, network interface card, because most of these machines have to be connected to other machines. And disk is usually some sort of storage we're talking about, internal storage, but you also have external storage slots and all that things. And then on top of that, you have an operating system, and then you have the application sitting. Typically, servers are designed for one major application. So you have a web server, which serves only as managing the web traffic. You have email server that's only designed to serve the email applications, and etc., etc., etc. So that's the traditional architecture. So what are the problems with that? So the software and hardware are tightly coupled because it's more efficient. More tightly coupled they are, the faster the processing would be. So that's the reason for that tight integration. But it creates the problem that a lot of times underutilized resources. What that means is that if you had an email, you have this powerful machine, but your web traffic, first of all, either is not constantly heavy. Typically, in most organizations, daytime is when you have much more heavy traffic, and in the night, typically, it goes down. In universities, it probably gets reversed, I would think, because most students are online after 9 o'clock. But the point is that there are few peak times, and most of the times, the server is not working at its full capacity. So that's what we mean by underutilization. And inflexible and costly infrastructure, because these machines are usually costly, servers are costly, and inflexible simply means that if you have to scale up, you just have to first of all create more space in your server room. Typically there is a room which serves as a server room, right? Because you need multiple machines. You need to add cooling systems, you need to install hardware and software again and put them in parallel and sync with the other servers and so on and so forth. So it's not a trivial exercise. It's not something you just say, oh, children, just come and install a server type of thing. And you need to maintain these things because you have to be constantly running them 24/7. So you have to make sure somebody is maintaining them properly. Okay. So that's with that as the background, then perhaps it will become slightly easier to understand where the virtualization is. So virtualization is basically creating a virtual server within the same physical hardware. So you have the same server, but now instead of sitting there underutilized most of the times, what you do is you sort of create two servers within it, but within the same hardware and software environment. Which sounds like, of course, it's a no-brainer. Why weren't people doing it already? Well, that's because, it's not as trivial as it sounds to create virtual machines. You need software for it, and sometimes you even need to install some hardware. But once people realized it came up with these software systems which allowed these machines to serve as multiple machines virtually, then, of course, it has taken off to the level we see today. So basically what you have is the process of running through a more logical computer system. When we say logical, it simply means it's a virtual. So it's the same physical hardware, but logical is 2 or 3 or multiple machines within the same machine. Okay, everybody's sort of getting the sense of what is virtual. So virtualization is simply virtual machines. So same hardware, but you are utilizing it, partitioning it in such a manner that it's like different servers running from the same machine. So this is simply showing you that it can serve as database server. So when we do a browser thing, anytime you are buying or selling, anytime we have dynamic websites, does everybody understand dynamic versus static?
Yes.
Static websites are if you go to, let's say, my web page, I don't know, like ever. Anyway, so most faculty have a website, right? All that is showing there is the Vita and my publications and maybe something in the download. But you can't really interact with it, you can't give me feedback, you can't request some, or you can't customize it, right? It's just a static web page for you to look at, that's it. As opposed to a dynamic website, which is pretty much most of the e-commerce, right? When you go and shop online, it's a dynamic website. First of all, they allow you to customize. So instead of looking at 1,000 products, maybe you can customize it so you only look at shoes and jackets because that's what you, let's say, want to buy most of the time. And then you can search it any which manner, and then you can put in your request for whatever it is you want to buy. A lot of them allow you to also provide feedback and so on and so forth. So these are interactive sites. So what that means is, you can't just use a web server, you also have to have a database of the products and all those things in sync with the web browser to manage all those requests and product requests and price requests and all those things. So that's usually why most of these databases are relational databases. So they have separate servers, and you have the other applications that might be like you're running a payment kind of thing, email, etc. So the idea of virtual machines is all of these servers are now being run on one physical machine. Questions? No questions? So why would companies like virtualization as opposed to traditional server model? Because it helps them lower their power and cooling consumptions and reducing the number of the machines and servers. And then virtualization can extend the way the technology has evolved in terms of the software that is available to enable virtualization. So if you have multiple servers, you can tie them all together in parallel and do it quite well. So that's what this is talking about, interconnected physical computers and storage devices. So we'll take some more of this. So how is it green? That's the question, because we're studying it in the context of green IT or green information system. So most servers use 5 to 15% of their capabilities on average. That's what we were talking about earlier. Most servers are underutilized. Not because there isn't enough for them to do, but it's really most servers are designed with the peak traffic in mind, because they should be able to handle the peak traffic. It shouldn't happen that when so many people are online for something, there's a breakdown, which sometimes does happen, right? If it exceeds the peak capacity, you get this message, error message, or just server breaks down. But most are underutilized, so even though they are underutilized in terms of the software it is using, in terms of its power consumption is pretty much the same. It's not reducing that much drastically, even if it is just sitting idle, because the fan still has to run and a lot of things still have to take place. So the power consumption is still 60 to 90% of their peak hours, even if it is mostly sitting idle. So that's why there's this this opportunity that software designers seized on, that can we do something about it? Can we utilize this machine which is sitting mostly idle while still consuming to do something else? And that's essentially what it is. So the virtualization is use one server to host multiple applications, and it reduces energy consumption. Because if you had to use, let's say, 3 different servers initially to do 3 different applications, now you're able to do all of that in one physical machine. So your power consumption is still the same that you had for one machine, but you're saving on the other 2 you would have needed. So obviously that has CO2 emissions. Now does the server emit CO2 directly? What are we talking about there? It's a motor, I'm not used to talking so much. So how does the CO2 emission reduces?
Power.
We've been talking about nothing but that for the last 2 days. So let's have some direct line drawn from a server to CO2 emission. Servers use power, right? How does power get generated? Usually from coal, right? And when you use coal, what happens? A lot of fuel.
Maximization of carbon dioxide, monoxide.
So that's one direct connection. But also, of course, in manufacturing of the other servers that you would have needed, manufacturing process also uses power and some other materials that could be emitting harmful gases, including CO2. So if your need for number of physical servers is reduced, automatically you are reducing the amount of hazardous material and CO2 emissions and composites. So running fewer highly utilized servers. So this is the key word here, that the same machine now is being utilized to its almost full capacity. So it frees up space. Space is probably not a huge problem for even a university of this size. Let's say a server room, you could probably put 5 and 10 in there easily. But when you're talking about companies like e-commerce companies in India, Japan, how many servers do you think they probably have in their server farm? It's called server farm. Because for companies like e-commerce companies, that's their bread and butter. They can't expect a consumer to go online, put an order, and then get a message, oops, sorry, come back half an hour later because our server capacity is full, so we can't serve you, right? We'll go somewhere else, right? So therefore, what that requires of these companies is not only to have many servers to be able to serve all the traffic that they expect they would get from advertising and all that, but they have to have backup servers and backup to backup servers. Most companies have 3 layers of backup servers, just to make sure that if something happens, power breaks down here, then those other servers will take over. And usually, typically, so they're called server farms because it's like if you go there, it's like this KT ODF servers type of thing. They're just stacked up. And usually, the backup servers are in a different physical location, and they're distributed in multiple locations across the country or at least across the geographical space, because if there is a bar or something in UP, then at least maybe in Karnataka things are working so the backup servers can take over from there. So that's essentially what most of these companies do, which rely on e-commerce as their thing. So when you think of companies like Google or Amazon or eBay, it is just mind-boggling to see what their server farms really look like. I mean, it's just an amazing sight. So I haven't seen there, but I've seen Teradata, which is one of the premier companies in database management and business intelligence space. So I'm on the board of Teradata University Network, and so it's some it's just amazing. They have these racks that go from floor to the ceiling, which is like 20 foot high, and just, like in movies, I'm sure you've seen, right? Usually in the movies, somebody is running into the server farm and they'll install one USB somewhere and everything breaks down somehow. It doesn't really happen like that. So my point is that For a typical company, space may not be that much of an issue, but for a medium-sized company onwards, space does become an issue. And if they can save on space, and if you are in a high rent kind of environment, that can be significant savings for you. And of course, the power. So this gives you an idea of every server virtualized can result in about $700 annual savings for a company, which again for a small company may not be that significant, but when you have, most companies are beginning to use e-commerce in some form or the other. Right? Financially, think of banks, credit card companies, loan companies, so it adds up. And then of course, this was one of the stats which I thought was interesting, that every server, this is virtualized. In other words, if you reduce the need of one single server by virtualization, it results in that much carbon emission, which is equivalent to taking 1.5 cars off the road for its lifetime. So in its lifetime, a car emits so much emission. So that's, I think, very significant, and that's probably one of the reasons why virtualization has become such a almost it's no longer even an emerging trend, I would say. So the model here is this is similar to the traditional, except the difference now is you still have the same hardware that you have in a traditional server, but what you have is, instead of the operating system, you first put this virtualization there. VMware is virtualization software that allows this machine to function as distinct servers. So basically what it entails is sort of partitioning almost, but in such a way that you can, the same storage. If the CPU can configure itself that if the web server portion needs more processing, then it can allocate more towards that and less towards that. So there's that kind of flexibility that is involved. So on top of that, so basically that's what it means. The same hardware is virtually sort of divided up, so to say, but there's still flexibility. And then on top of that, you have the same traditional architecture of operating system and then the application. Okay. Any questions on this? Seems fairly logical, right? No-brainer, as they call it, must be no, right? Once you have the software available to enable you to do that. In fact, I think in Unix system way back, you could do that by partitioning the hardware. This is about 30 years ago. But to be able to do it on a mass scale in such a manner that most companies can do it requires some skill. Okay, so why do we virtualize? Real estate, basically space. So you save on that. Increases the uptime because it's so much easier to maintain one machine as opposed to multiple machines. Reduce on carbon emissions and cooling requirements and so on. Increase flexibility. How so? One could argue it would be less flexible. We can switch over to multiple applications. So actually that's a good idea. The same hardware, like the same storage, if you have the virtual machine layer designed in such a way that it allows the hardware to be allocated where the most needs are, it creates that much more flexibility for an application that is suddenly experiencing heavy traffic to pull more resources. Because earlier you had just one machine and you were limited to that. Still to it, actually, the peak is still, the max is still the same. So where else the flexibility we are talking about? most of the thing is also the processing time. Most of you know that even though most of the servers are stacked next to each other, there's still some physical distance, right? But now what you have, everything is within the same, almost the same circuit board you're talking about. So that much less time for the request to travel. Now that could be, few nanoseconds or or milliseconds, but they start adding up when you are talking about really heavy traffic and you're talking about millions and millions of requests that are being processed. So those milliseconds can add up in terms of the speed at which the requests are being served. So that's an added benefit also. The last one basically is talking about the same thing. You're getting more out of the less hardware, and you're moving away from one application, one server model to multiple applications and one server, which is virtualization. And of course, when you do a massive virtualized model, the other name by which we know it is cloud computing, which I think most of you are familiar with and most of you also use it. How many of you use can you give me examples of the cloud computing you use? Phone backup. So tell me more. I heard one example, phone backup.
Google Drive.
So how is it a cloud computing?
The data of the phone is stored categorized in the cloud in Google Drive. And so, if ever the data is lost in the phone, you can recover it through Google Drive.
So of course, they say it's a Google Cloud. That's how we are thinking it's a cloud. But for us to technically understand it's a cloud is because we know that Google does use virtual machines, and it's not like for Babita Gupta's backup there is a whole dedicated server sitting there. Imagine if that's what they had to do. We wouldn't have had that model of you being able to do backups, right? We didn't till the cloud computing came into being, because if there are millions of billions, right, of customers, that they would have to have billion servers for each of those customers to be able to do their backup, which is just not realistically possible. But now, because of the virtualization, they could have one server which is then dedicated to even a million customers, because not all customers will have huge amounts of data. So depending on, 30% of those customers have more than, 30 gigs of data, but the other 50% barely have, 1 gig of data, and so on and so forth. So the cloud machine, the cloud server machine that Google has can manage all that storage, and even if it needs to sort of go to another physical server, it has means to be able to communicate with another physical server that, look, I'm exceeding my capacity, I need more of those things and so on. So that's what cloud computing enables companies and the consumers to do. What did we used to do before this facility was available to us? What did we do before?
There were physical servers which were made to store the data or for the database management, and we had a physical setup like physical machine which were dealing with the proper network and which deals with the traffic of data which was traveling into that network. And after to it, what happened is, after virtualization, there was a creation of n numbers of platforms which was created through virtualization, and we had n number of servers into a single server hub. So through it, we got to have the lots of space to store the data and manage it.
So that's from the company side, what used to happen. But for the consumers, when we didn't have this facility of cloud computing, normally all of us, once our device got full, we would have to plug it into our computers and transfer and free up some space, or stop downloading any more songs because we reached the capacity, no more song downloads, etc., etc. We lived with it because that was the normal thing then. But can you imagine now somebody having a device which you have to do that, where you have to physically keep emptying it out? You don't. Nobody is going to buy that device which expects you to physically empty out your device periodically so you can keep taking more pictures and more videos. Now we don't even think about it. My sister, she came to visit me in US a month ago. So we went to Hawaii and she had configured her cell phone so that everything was directly going to the cloud. So we didn't even have to think about how much space is there, and when you're clicking pictures, just keep taking pictures and videos for as long as you want, because as long as there's an internet connection, of course. It was just being uploaded, so you didn't even have to think twice about kitna space reh gaya hai, full ho gayi, that kind of thing. So, any other examples besides the smartphone related? Let's think of some other examples.
Mediafire.com.
Mediafire. What does that do?
It stores movies and all the data.
Of yours?
Yeah.
Do you have to subscribe to it?
Yeah.
Okay. What about others similar to that model? Anybody else know of any? Dropbox, yeah. Dropbox whole business model is that, for free, of course, up to a certain limit, you can put in all your data there, and you can have access to it from anywhere as long as there's an internet connection. So I actually started, I just love Dropbox now as a backup, because, it's so much easier when I'm working from office to then directly just put it on the cloud and then go home and download it again from there to my home computer, instead of first inserting the thing, making copies, and then forgetting to do this USB somewhere, or etc., etc. And of course, how do these companies make money then? So let's talk about, so do we all understand cloud computing that we first mentioned? So if I ask you to describe it to me, how would you describe it? What is cloud computing? Let's take a couple of minutes to think about that. See if you can, how about you just pair up with the person sitting next to you, and if not, just find another person who's sitting there themselves. And see if you can explain to each other what cloud computing is. Can you verbalize it? We all understand it, but can you verbalize in words what is cloud computing? English to go, just take 2 minutes. Find somebody who's intrigued. Yeah, आप तीनों कर लीजिए.
नहीं सीधा बादल ऑपरेटिंग करते हैं एक्चुअली जैसे बादल है पानी उसमें बूंदे बढ़ती है वो आप भी बने emphasizing logistics. I have done something for logistics and reduce the supply chain restrictions and barriers.
That's a longer discussion than I'm going to class next week.
Once upon a time, DLF also used to have accepted, but now DLF people are really restricted because of the two reasons. Because they have purchased n number of plots in India and they have finished with the Where we used to work, it is all being built by the whole cyber city in Gurgaon. It's all being built by
Okay, so have you guys
and
explained
once you enter into our, I used to work with cyber city, you will say, I'm Indian. But where I used to work, what happened? On Discovery Channel, National Geographic, Sony, Excel, College, we don't need to use storage. We have to, in order to reach one office, I have to use rapid metro. There is one rapid metro which is designed by them. Normal metros are designed by Korea. We travel by rapid metro.
What else is different?
Rapid metro is
That's why I wanted to see.
other than से वीडियो दरवाजे खुले वो ड्राइवर जो था वो स्टार्ट कर देगा गेट खुला rapid metro क्या होता है उसमें सेफ्टी लॉक कंजर्वेशन सिस्टम से गवर्नमेंट
Different applications. Apart from
इसका फिर better word. जो हम लाइक there is a cloud level that you don't want to get into management, you are very much confined to that your sector. Always remember when the first principles of scientific management was written by F.W. Taylor. He was a senior. It was not from this knowledge. Cloud भी है, cloud computing calculator चल रहा है.
That's correct.
IT sector I'm just privileged IT sector. That's what I can tell. We are from management. Up till intermediate I was from PCB. We both were. I picked up and we decided to not to kill anybody after becoming a doctor or something like that. So we decided to get into
Storage for drop-offs,
maybe owners. Sir was still अपनी stream से थे सर as well pharma technology. He was rebel from his field. I totally shifted. I don't know. That's the question I asked. I introspect myself. Management is required at all. Even if you go to these MBBS doctors, they also do management. Why? Because they are currently a team. Everywhere management, cloud, this system management. Even these BTechs, why they are doing management.
They also have to lead a team. They have to work in a team. They have to be work as a team player, something like that. आपने क्या किया था ये सर आप भी सीधा से गुजरे हैं I was preparing for AFMC enforcement.
My graduation in 2009, I joined the intelligence bureau. Approximately 3.5 months I was there. We trained half trained soldiers. Our dreams were very good, were very high, but we ended up in immunity. And defense was finally a good success.
You just name the person as they'll inform much. Okay, fine, I'll tell you about professional as well as personal life. There's a particular subject by the name of business analytics. You must all have been studying there. Yes, easily होता ही है.
That's one application.
देश को गरीब करते हैं. He's also doing. That's the spirit. That's the spirit. इन लोगों को देख के जितना है.
I see it. And
I'll lead you to the list of the ID sector. Sleep on that.
Our basically because cloud computing is putting your data in a one device or a storage application and accessing it anywhere you want.
So there seems to be a common theme that when we are thinking about cloud computing, we are using the word storing the data. So we have to be careful about that because storing the data simply means like a storage device, right? Like a USB, you make backups of your data, but that's not all that cloud computing is. Storing the data is one of the applications like Dropbox company provides, and there are other companies. So when we use the word cloud computing and to describe it, we should use the word applications. So it's a way for us to have access to multiple applications on demand through the use of internet. Because obviously cloud computing will not work unless you have internet access. So these applications could be storage. It could be using applications like SPSS or SAS. Earlier what would happen is you would have to have SAS, let's say, installed on your own computer if you wanted to run some statistical analysis. Is everybody familiar with SAS and SPSS?
And then
R, etc. But now because of cloud computing, it's an application that SAS has made available, of course some limitations, so I can do it. What are the HR related applications like different companies that you could have? So you could have an internal intranet of company as cloud computing. So it's
one and the same thing.
so within the company you could set up a cloud computing model where employees can access something HR related on the cloud from any branch anywhere in the country or globally. Which is what a lot of the big companies do, like Walmarts and so on. They have to manage their supply chain. So what they do is,
private cloud servers.
Private clouds and servers. So they make it available to their partners and distributors and so on. So they all can access the information on the cloud anytime, anywhere, rather than having to install it and manage it that way. So it has. So we talk a lot more about the advantages and some of those kind of things. So the important keyword here is think in terms of multiple applications, which could be data storage or even Microsoft Office Suite, right? These days, a lot of companies, because it's really expensive to buy licenses for Office Suite, for 10 terminals in a small business, right? If you're a very small business, let's say you're an accounting firm, rather than installing so much, spending so much money, you would subscribe to the Microsoft Office and access whatever software when you need it on a subscription basis and so on. Okay? So everybody getting the handle on, even though we are not experts in cloud computing, which is fine, we at least need to have a good idea of what does it actually mean, and you know, what does it enable us to do. Okay. We're doing good on time. That's good. So basically, massively virtualized model, which is such a mouthful. I'm sure somebody is there with that word cloud. Typically, cloud computing, they show this cloud and this lightning connecting to the network, which is the internet, which is kind of cute actually. So this is what cloud computing. Now I'm giving you one of the various definitions, but pretty much you all had covered that in your understanding. It's an on-demand network. When we say network, it implies that you have servers and clients all interconnected together through some sort of networking devices, wireless or wired or satellite. Shared pool of configurable computing resources, so server, storage, etc., etc., etc. That could be rapidly provisioned and released with minimal. So what that means is, in a cloud computing, if there is a greater need in this area, then the resources can be put towards there because there is less need there. So there is that kind of management which is much more easy to do in a virtual machines than it was possible to do in a physical machine. So what that means is, if we have physical servers in the traditional model, in the Hyderabad branch, let's say suddenly seeing an upsurge in customers, it's so much harder to move the servers from Allahabad to Hyderabad physically, right? You would have to buy new servers in Hyderabad to manage those requests. But if you have a centralized virtual model, and if a particular branch is experiencing more traffic and more resources, let's say database needs to be allocated, it's so much easy to do because you're managing it virtually anyways. So no physical need for buying or transportation and so on. So it's a delivery of computing as a service. It sounds very, this is one of those things that are called as paradigm shifting. Does everybody understand what's a paradigm shift? Like when fire came about, when woman invented fire, right? They were the ones who were cooking, right? I'm sure they were the ones who were It was a paradigm shift because before that we were eating uncooked food and a lot of people used to die, right? When you cook food, people were able to store food, you could store cooked food longer times. There was less infection, so the mortality rates dropped and populations grew and so on and so forth. So it resulted in a whole lot of sociological changes. Same thing with transportation when wheel was invented, when trains came about, radio, television, etc., internet. Now, this is probably not as dramatic as those things, but what this means is that earlier we had this mindset that if you wanted to use an application, you had to buy the software, install it on your computers, and then use it. And then when upgrades came, you had to buy the upgrades and reinstall it and use it that way. So now that model is changing and software is becoming another commodity. So a commodity is when it becomes available on a mass scale, just like shampoo or soap, it's a commodity. There's a lot of them available, a lot of competition, and the prices keep dropping. And I just need a shampoo. I don't have to think twice about. Some people spend too much time thinking about what shampoo to buy. Shampoo. So same thing here. So that's the change that's taking place. So it's changing the way companies that used to sell the software having to rethink. A lot of companies are dying out because they have not been able to adapt to the cloud computing model. So they are really thinking fast about it. And a lot of companies are coming up with new products that weren't there before. Dropbox is an example of that, where they use this premium sort of, or what is called as the freemium model. Does everybody understand what's a freemium model? You give certain amount for free, get people hooked on it, and then you sort of say, okay, if you pay this much, then you get all these services, and etc. etc. So, computing as a service, how you pay for it is different now. You don't have to pay for each license. Typically, companies. So, if a company had, let's say, going back to the earlier example, 10 accountants working in this accounting firm. Earlier, they would have to buy 10 licenses because all of them use Word and Excel at the very least, or something like that. But now, maybe they don't need to buy 10 licenses. Maybe they just buy 5 subscriptions because at any time, only 5 of them might be using that application. So that way, all 10 of them still have access to all this software, but at any time, they're still only paying for 5 licenses as opposed to 10. And this is typically what companies do, including universities. Most universities are switching to, let's say, dedicated Gmail servers for their universities. Ours is csclb.edu, but it's really a Gmail. But they customize it for the university because it's so much cheaper than other email products, and plus the number of licenses, you don't have to buy as many. So, so traditionally, you buy the hardware, software, the people. Why did we need the people? Why did we have to buy? When we say buy, basically hire people. We're not talking about trafficking here.
To manage the server.
Manage because for a typical company which is non-IT company, you need people with skills to work with hardware, install software. Something goes wrong, they didn't realize this rules. Pretty soon I'll be. But now you don't, because now you're basically letting the cloud computing company do all of that management. So your need for hiring specific set of skills goes down. So the vendor provides you with a full solution, and you just pay a recurring price. Most of the model seems to be to a subscription model of some sort, where either it's every month or once a year, and then you renew that subscription. So why is it becoming so popular? Because scalability, that's a huge thing, right? If I'm a company, I'm starting a small business which is online based, I know from my marketing plan that for the first 6 months, I will not have more than a certain number of, so I don't need to buy all the infrastructure right now, I just pay a subscription for certain space and certain capabilities. But if I'm scaling up very fast, I don't have to run around to buy all these additional software, additional IT people which are very hard to get, etc. Because all I have to do is call up the company and say, I need to scale up 10 times or 1,000 times, so here is my extra subscription that I need to pay, and immediately overnight have access to that scaled up IT infrastructure that I need to run my business, which was not the case before. So that used to happen a lot, in the early days of e-commerce, because suddenly the business will take off unexpectedly, scrambling to figure out how to scale up the IT infrastructure to deal with the demand. So, as you can see, a whole lot of, you can scale up everything, and then there are cost savings when you think in terms of the volume of the users versus the cost involved. Plus, you don't have to pay a lot of money to hire IT staff who doesn't really have that much work for a typical small or medium-sized company. In big companies, yes, it's probably better for them to have their own specialized set of IT people. But for most of the companies, they used to just sit there twiddling their thumbs. So, and of course, the last one, don't have to worry about the, this virus is going around, and okay, so the CEO, kya sunne mein aa raha hai, kuch kariye. So, they're trying to figure out how to keep the security and all that, because now it's all outsourced essentially. So basically what you've done is, cloud computing allows most companies to outsource their IT needs and maintenance and everything, as long as they have a robust internet connection and fines, either thin or fat fines on their end. They're all set. So they have these different cloud offerings. So I think the next slide sort of talks about that. So software as a service, SaaS, PaaS, yes, I guess. So they're designed for different types of users and to address their needs. So most business users typically, in a typical business company which is non-IT, you use the email and social media type of things and etc. etc. So that would be software as a service. So a company could provide them with, so you have the Salesforce.com, for example, or there are millions of companies these days. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But there are a lot of companies that allow you to, if you have these, to manage your social media presence, all the Twitter feeds you're getting, so you can outsource it where they'll gather all the Twitter feeds wherever your name is mentioned, analyze it for you, and give you results every day or every week, or depending on what service you are seeking. There's a huge innovation taking place. Anytime something new happens, a lot of businesses die, but then a lot of new businesses come up with innovative ideas and to fill the gap in terms of what was missing before. PaaS is platforms as a service, so that's as the name suggests, is for developers and deployers to allow them to be able to create applications and services. So if you're an architect or CAD users or car designer or those kind of specialized, that's where you would have access to use platforms as a service, where you have a scan platform, or in medical fields, for example, and so on and so forth. And IaaS, so even though the word platform is used in the last one, it's not PaaS, it's IaaS. Basically, it's a system level thing. So it allows for a company to actually create its own IT company based on no IT hardware and software of its own, but using everything off. So I could be an analytics company, for example. I could start an analytics company, but I don't have to have my own hardware and software or even BI software, because another company that's probably, I can pay some money to get Teradata or SAS or even IBM, which will then allow me to develop my own business model, my own applications which I can then sell as a cloud to another, to a whole bunch of customers. So everybody getting a sense of these different things that are happening out there? So these are the key components: pay as you go, access at any time, any place, any device, economy of scale, flexibility, and you have expertise available to you. I'm going to skip this one and skip this one and let's go to the discussion. So first, any questions? Why don't you guys, two of the ladies have to leave early because of the time change, so please, see you tomorrow. Huh? So which will